Get ready to rumble! Let's learn about events. Let's learn about how to make an event of our own. I need an event. I need an event. For right here, I have this little character here, this game, and I'm moving and I'm jumping from one board to another. But what I want to do is I want, when I hit the board, for all the lights on that board to know I hit it and then turn on, and the other ones to turn off. So the way I'm going to do that is with events. And just a little picture here, explain an event. These little people, these are code. Let me try to write my little word code. Code. Okay, the people are code. And this is some more code somewhere else, these guys here. And what happens when you have an event is one piece of code says something. And then other code maybe is not listening or is listening. All right? Get the picture? So what does that look like when I actually have code? Well, first we have this the player, and that's the one that's going to be the talker, the one that's going to like raise the event. The player is going to be the talker. When it hits the floor, it's going to talk and say, hey, I hit the floor. And then the floors are going to be the listeners, all right? But right now, all my floors are ignoring any messages, and my player's not even saying any messages yet. It's not even kicking off an event. So let's look at the player script, and let's add a mechanism for where the player could actually holler out, I hit the floor, and like tell the other code that hit the floor. So what we have to do is we have to define an event. By the way, we've been using events here, but we haven't made any of our own, because start is an event listener, update is an event listener from the mono behavior class, fires off, and these are listeners for events in Unity. Okay, so we're going to make our own event here for the player that it's going to raise an event when I hit the floor. So we have to define it. Yeah, I said that already. All right, so what I'm going to do is up here, I'm going to make a delegate, which is a pointer to a function. A delegate is a pointer to a function. And let's see, player floor change. So when I jump on another floor, I'm going to have a player floor change function, and it has to have not a file name, a floor name, sorry. The name of the floor that it is touching. See how I have these different floor names over here? So that's a pointer to a function. And then now I'm going to define my event, public static event, for the player floor change. Okay, so this is the definition of a function that event has to get. This is the event for the player floor change function, and the name of my event is going to be on player floor change. That is going to be the name of my event. Okay, so these two lines here, this is step one. Define my event. Okay, and now this is just the code to move the player around. But that's not what this tutorial is about. What this tutorial is about is making my own event. So here I define the event, and now I'm going to have to call that event. When I call the event is going to be when I land on another floor. So collision enter. Okay, so my first test is if collision game object dot compare tag equals the floor. So see if I collided with a floor. That's my first test here. So what I want to do here is my second step of raising an event. But first I got to make sure I'm going to raise it for the right reason. So collision game object, I hit the floor. I'm going to have to know what my current floor's name is, and I think I got that here. Well, I'm going to have to get it here. All right, so I hit a floor. Now I have to see if the current floor, if that is equal to null still, because if it is, then I could set it, or if the current floor name is not equal to the collision object name. All right, so it's a different floor that I'm hitting, or it's the first time I'm hitting a floor. Then if that happens, now I want to raise my event that I just made up here, this on player floor change event. Now I could just call on player floor change. You know, this is my event and it wants the name of the floor, so I'll say collision dot game object dot name. Okay, and now I'll call my event, but there's a problem that if I call the event but no one's listening, then the code is going to make an error. So I better check to make sure someone's listening, and that's easy. All I have to know is if on player floor change is not equal to null. If it's not equal to null, then somebody's listening to the event. Like in that picture, some other code somewhere is listening. So this step right here, this is step 2, is fire off my event. And when I have to fire off my event in the code that defined my event. So here in the player class, the player script, I define my event with these 2 lines. And then here, step 2, I fire off the event. Okay? Now step 3. That's great. I'm firing off an event. Just like in this picture, somebody is hollering a message, right? I'm hollering a message out, and I'm hollering a message out. And right now, I don't have anybody listening to my message. I want somebody to be listening. So let's look at the new code here that we have to start writing. So over here, all these little balls are the things that are the lights, the lamps, and every floor has 4 balls. So when the player hits the floor, I want the lights on that floor to turn on and all the other ones to turn off. So every one of these lights here, they have a script that I added to them. Let's see. Can you see it? Here, let's look at it. I have a script I added something called the lamp. So here's the lamp script for each light. And right now it's just, I'm just starting out with the script. So for step 3, I have to have a listener. So let's do my step 3 stuff here. Step 3, listen to event. All right, so when the lamp script starts up, when it becomes enabled, so I could do this in the start, but it's more recommended to do this in the enable. So private void on, and this is the thing, model behavior has a lot of events that it reads for the class here, the script. So I want on enable. So this is when the script becomes enabled. I want to add a listener to that player event. Player dot on player change plus equals do light. So do light is a function name in my class that I have to say is going to get called when I listen and I hear that event. So let me make that function private void do light, and it has to take the floor name as a parameter. This is all part of step 3. So when the script starts, I add a listener. Okay, so this is adding a listener here. And then also just to clean up after the script is done, on disable, the opposite, player.on player footer change minus equals do light. Then I'll remove a listener. So it's just being neat, take something out and you put it away when you're done. Okay, remove listener. And now the do light is going to be what I do when when I hear this event. It's going to call do light because I told it right here. Now do light, you see, it's a void that takes a string. And that is because right here I define my event. It's the player floor change, the pointer to a function. It's a void that takes a string. So that means in my listener it has to call a function that's a void that takes a string. Now in here I'll do the thing where I turn the light on or off if the floor matches the name of this floor. So every light you can see is part of a floor. Let's see if the name of the floor that comes in is the same name. Then I'll turn the light on, otherwise I'll turn it off. So if floor name equals floor name, my floor's name, then I'll turn the light on. So the lamp dot enabled will equal true. Else lamp dot enabled equals false to turn off the light. Okay. So that is it. Step 3 is right here. I listen and stop listening. When the script turns on, I listen. When the script is turning off, I don't listen anymore. And then what happens is it calls do light every time the event fires. So now I have a listener that the event's going to say I hit the floor from the player, and the listener is going to do the do light function when it hears it, because now I have a listener. So is it going to work? I cross my fingers and pray. Let's see. Let's try it out. Let's press play. First thing, boom, my player hits the floor over here. All right, so this is the last floor that I was on. Now if I jump over to another floor, boom, the events fire off. Boom. And there's like every floor is getting that event. And the thing is, the light turns on when I hit a floor that I'm on and turns off on a floor that I'm off. So the cool thing about using the events too is that my player My player script doesn't have to know anything about the rest of the game. It doesn't have to know anything about what anybody's going to do at the event. I'm just sending out the event that I hit the floor. And then this script, the lamp script, is doing something with that event. It's turning the lights on and off. I could have other scripts, like, say I could have enemies that are on each platform, but they only start waking up and chasing after me when I'm on their floor. Then if I jump off their floor, they turn off. So I could do many things with events. When I fire off an event, it doesn't have to be determined in advance. And that's part of the advantage of using events. And let's just go over it again. The simple steps, 3 steps. Step 1, we have to define the event by defining a pointer to the function that's going to handle the event, and then defining the name of the event itself, which is onPlayerFloorChange. This is what the name of my event is in the player script. Then my player script, it should fire off the event somewhere. So I'm going to fire it off when I touch the floor if the floor is a different name. See if the floor name is different. Then first I make sure somebody's listening with this not equal to null, and then I just fire off my event right here. Okay? So that's all the player has to do, whether somebody's listening or not. But I did make somebody listen. I went into my lamp script that's on every light, and every light belongs to a floor. So here in the start, I get the name of the floor that the light's on, and I turn the lights on. But then when it gets the event, it's going to turn the light off or on based on if the player is on floor matches. Okay, I hope that was easy to understand. If not, just ask me some questions in the comments. And have fun making games. Bye-bye.